Did you know that GM was sued by the US government for conspiring to monopolize public transit? In 1949, they were sued by the US government for trying to dismantle streetcars, buses, trolley systems all across the United States. Their goal was to try to push more cars, be a more car-dependent society, said the government. Locally in Iowa City, we even had a streetcar that serviced downtown. It went down Washington Street all the way down to Summit. This was a great access for nearby neighborhoods, but look at these photos. 1925, here it is, and then it somewhere disappeared in the decade. Here's another photo in 1935. Look at all the Model Ts and cars that are on the street at this time. Two exact same photos of the same spot with a stark contrast of the way that automobiles took over our mass transit system. Okay, the US was like the best in the world at the beginning of the 20th century for our mass transit, and suddenly that had eroded by the 1950s. And this led to the rise of car dependency and suburban sprawl. At the same time, America just finished up a world war, and military leaders were heavily influenced by their experience with Germany's efficiency of the Autobahn. The speed, the logistics, the ability to fuel their complete supply chain with these roads was inspiring to them. There's one leader that took note, Dwight D. Eisenhower. Sound familiar? Well, he should, because he later became our US president. And he signed the Federal Aid Highway Act, which authorized the construction of over 40,000 miles of interstate highways for national defense to help facilitate economic growth and make travel safer and more efficient, or so they said. It was one of the most significant infrastructure projects of America's history, but it also aided in reshaping urban development in today's real estate landscape. We are now a car-dependent landscape. These two events would go on to create the suburb that we know today, a real estate landscape dominated by its dependency on cars. But look, pedestrian-friendly neighborhoods, they're a big trending topic right now, and everyone's talking about it in real estate. Here's a couple examples of where we've seen some big pedestrian movements. In Boston, the Big Dig was completed near the beginning of this century. It buried miles and miles of interstates and highways underground right in the middle of the city, which helped revive large swaths of land that were repurposed for new parks and green spaces. Another recent example was congestion pricing, just introduced in the fall of 2024 in New York City. This recent experiment program helped reduce the traffic congestion in New York City, which has so far reduced traffic by 8%, while also reducing the number of accidents by a whopping 50%, and reintroducing and coincidentally creating pedestrian-friendly neighborhoods with the help of reducing the traffic and encouraging public transit and eliminating all that annoying traffic noise. Locally in Iowa City, we have a mass transit pilot program. This program was set up with federal government aid to provide free bus services, which is also in addition to the already free transit provided by the University of Iowa's transit network across the campus. Iowa City has also raised the prices of downtown parking, which, coupled with free mass transit, was aimed at encouraging more mass transit use and expanding the downtown Ped Mall to be more accessible by foot. And here's another really interesting example. Cul-de-sac, right outside of Tempe, Arizona, was the first carless city to be introduced in the United States. It's just 15 miles from Phoenix. Once laughed at for being carless, its success is now making developers rethink their intuition across the country. But look, all these small projects, they're not gonna help change our car dependency. Just on a small scale maybe, but not on a big scale. To achieve mass redevelopment, we're gonna need major events like the GM Transit Conspiracy or the World War Interstate projects that help make a lasting change to our real estate development. And you know what? I think that time is near because AI is developing at incredible speeds and it is changing the way that we develop in many industries, including self-driving cars that are now on a handful of cities, including Tesla just announced that they're gonna have unsupervised FSD in June in Austin, and they filed for a permit for use in California. So how might AI change our real estate? Well, we went from just having no cars at the 20th century in our houses to having a 1-car garage by the 50s and a 2-car garage by the 70s and then 3-car garages in the 90s. And then by the end of the 90s, some people were even putting 4-car garages. But then we saw something happen. That trend has started to reverse. Look, car ownership per household has started to really flatten, and we've begun to see that decline in recent years. For one, younger generations are prioritizing walking. They're not owning the high cost of car ownership because of its parking cost, the ownership itself, insurance, and then of course the maintenance. And then other things have happened in the tech sector, such as ride hailing, which now you can get monthly subscriptions for services that have expanded the use of people getting ride share. We could also see a reversal of the number of garages that are being used on houses. Right now, pretty standard is 3. Maybe we'll go from 3 to 2, or maybe even 1. Here's something to consider that I've been thinking about a lot. What if AI self-driving really advances and adopts quickly? You could go from having just one car that, say, takes your kids to work while I work from home on emails, before it then comes back to pick me up, and then continue to work in the car while it transits me to my work. And then when it gets to my work, it doesn't even have to find a parking spot. Instead, it could just ferry off and go help my spouse with getting to work, or return and get me when I just simply queue it. Why even have a car at all? We could just adopt monthly subscriptions to cars. Will we even need a garage then? With so many advancements to AI and technology in our cars, we might just get this big advancement that changes our real estate landscape again. And this could be really big to how we design and shape neighborhoods designed around people rather than cars. So what do you think? Love to hear your input. Can we go to a carless society? Is technology getting us closer? Drop a comment down below. Thanks for watching.